Welcome back to the 98s Podcast, hosted by yours truly, Kevin Thompson, founder and CEO of 98 Capital Group. Thank you guys for joining us. As I always say, subscribe to the channel. As I always say, go and get my book, Get My Beat to CFP, live on Apple and Amazon. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, you can email us at info@9icapitalgroup.com. Send us your questions, or you can go to the website at www.9icapitalgroup.com. Schedule an appointment. As you know, we're here to do what? Educate, empower, and engage. And today we're talking to Tobias Salinger, a financial planner at Arizent. He writes wonderful articles, and today we're talking about unlocking the power of the talent gap, unlocking the talent gap in finance. We're talking about the industry. We're talking about some crucial topics regarding around diversity, and we're also going to talk about how we can solve some of the issues within the industry. If you want to listen to this one, you got to stay tuned. Let's get it. Hey, we're back. 90s Podcast with Tobias Salinger, Chief Correspondent of Financial Planning at Arizent. And I just appreciate having you, my friend. I know your expertise, what you're doing in the financial industry. Your articles and everything you're producing, it's been very, very good content. Wow.
Well, thank you so much. It's really appreciated. All we hope is that people out there in the field and the profession find what we do useful. So I'm glad to hear it, and it's a big honor.
Well, it's very useful because, I mean, like a lot of things we talk about, we're going to get into today about the financial planning side of things, the succession planning, mergers, acquisitions, all the other things, the whole 9 yards. But before we go there, tell us a little bit about what's going on and what we're doing later this month.
Yes, in a few weeks, we will be live in the Leaders Forum. That's a platform from our parent company, Arizent. We own about a dozen different financial publications, and the Leaders Forum is about speaking with experts like yourself on the most pressing issues in our professional communities. So it will be the two of us and Shannon Spotswood of RFG Advisory discussing the changing nature of financial advisor independence. So really looking forward to that. That will be May 28th. I believe is that the Wednesday, May 28th?
Yeah, I think it's the Wednesday or Tuesday or Wednesday of May 28th. And yes, I will have the link in the bottom of this podcast. So please, if you want to listen to it, go in and register. It's going to be a great event. You know, I like to keep it lively, so it may be some good debate there. You never know.
I hope so. And it's May 29th. Just check the date. It'll be at 12 Eastern, but there'll be a recording posted the next couple of days if people can't make it live. But yeah, I'm looking forward to a vibrant discussion because there's a lot there. It's like everyone wants to be called independent, but what does that really mean?
Oh my God, this is great. Have you been reading my show notes? I think you've been reading my show notes because here's a perfect segue, man, because here's the deal. You're absolutely right. Everybody wants to call themselves a financial advisor. It's like before we got on the call, you said, hey, Kevin, I know you're looking to get the EA and everything like that. Congratulations. I said, yeah, man, I'm taking my exams this week. But the next thing you know, you said, man, people walk on the street and people say, oh, you work in the financial industry, you must know taxes. And that's not the case, right? Where everybody has their little special niche, whether it be the insurance professional, whether it be the person that works strictly in investment banking, on the investment assets. So everybody has a little special niche. And of course, you have the certified financial planner that's not necessarily the jack of all trades and the master of none. I'm not going to say that because that's not what we are. But we do have a wide breadth of expertise in regards to this financial industry. And then, of course, guys like yourself help put it all together in your articles and things like that. So that's what we're going to talk about here today. So again, my first question before, and I know we talked about this a lot. Now, I'm not going to name any names like I never do. Having conversations with people who own RIAs and things like that, their main issue, what they're struggling with is, okay, I'm looking to probably walk away in 3 to 5 years, and I know I can get a multiple outside of an internal sell of probably 3, maybe 3.5. But if I go internally, I'll probably have to take a huge discount. I mean, are you hearing those things? Is that some of the things that you're hearing in regards to people's struggles in the industry right now as they walk away in regards to succession?
Absolutely. It's a huge issue facing the industry. As you know, Cerulli recently came out with a report just pointing out that there are 109,000 financial advisors expected to retire in the next decade. And
Wow.
that's going to be a huge void, particularly in an industry where the rookie failure rate hovers around 72%, according to Cerulli's study that came out earlier this year. So that is a big concern on people's minds. And the financing side of it is huge because you might have picked a successor. You might have picked a really bright rising star in this field, but you still need the capital in order to hand the business over. So that is something that's causing people to fold into these larger national platforms. There are some other solutions that are kind of emerging. You could sell a minority stake in the firm to retain full ownership and get some capital that way. I'm told by people who work for those investors that that is one way around, the decision between joining a large RIA aggregator that are buying a lot of these firms and trying to go it alone on the internal financing side. So there are a few options there, but at the root, there's going to be a problem if there aren't more young people and career changers coming into this field.
Young people, career changers coming into the field. And what I'm hearing and what I'm learning is that although they're in the field, are they ready to take over a practice? Not just from over the day-to-day operations, but like you just mentioned, how are they going to get the money, right? How are they going to get the financing to buy this person out at a 2 to 3 times multiple? And is that person willing just to take a discount just to keep the business in-house? And next, not only but just about buying them out, but what does it look like? Is it going to be a sunset over 5 years to make it easier on you from a cash flow perspective? Is the person going to be okay with that? I mean, there's so many different ways on how people can engineer the sale of a business, but what we all know is that people typically don't look at succession until, you know what, I'm ready to retire. It's not 9 months from now. I want to get out of here. Let's figure this one out. And then it becomes a race to the finish line, and it's bad. That's when bad decisions happen.
It really can be a fraught process, and from what I understand, it can be a difficulty in terms of handing off the clients if they don't know this successor, if they see this successor as someone who's kind of a note taker in meetings, who kind of has been included in meetings for maybe the past 6 months or something. Are they going to feel comfortable getting transferred to a new advisor? I know that even in my own family, my brother and his wife, they went to a different firm than the one used by my parents. They didn't know they were handed off to another person in my parents' advisor's practice, and they didn't know this person. They didn't feel comfortable. They felt more comfortable making their own decision, and so that's another area of difficulty. I think it does take a lot longer than in other fields where, maybe you take 6 months, a year learning the business, or maybe even 2 or 3 years, but it might take even longer than that in such a relationship business like wealth management.
Relationship business, oh my God, you hit the nail on the head, because people don't understand what that feels like when you're handed off to someone that you know nothing about. Hey, like it's tough in my world because like I know in the future, like I'm not going to do that. I'm going to say, you know what, you came with me, you are with me. And then what I'm going to do is structure it to a way where new clients come in and they may not see my face as much, right? So they don't have to endure that pain of relationship being removed from them, right? So it's just a way to do it. But right now, you're absolutely right in that regard because, hey, you're gonna go out. I'm gonna hand you off to my secondary. It makes that person feel like they're less than, and they may want to leave just because of that. And when you're gone, they most likely won't stay because of the way they felt like they've retreated. So that's a very delicate situation, and I know that's really really huge in the financial planning space, in that world because I'm dealing with clients right now that are dealing with that from other advisors. Like I'm constantly getting shuffled from one advisor to the other, and I just don't like it. And that's honestly outside of not speaking to your financial advisor, outside of not reaching out to your client, and that being the number one reason. That's probably the second reason, as in, I'm constantly shuffled between people through this organization.
Yeah. Well, and that's why it is so important to highlight the work of some innovative folks in the profession who are kind of driving that change and thinking about the next generation. We had a recent story just talking about the opening of new pathways into this profession. It's fairly notorious about how difficult it can be to start off as a financial advisor. From what I hear, the horror story, and it certainly sounds like a horror story to me, is the proverbial here's a phone, and we hope you have some people in your network, family and friends, who could be good clients, and we want you to generate this amount of revenue by the end of the year. And if you can't make it, you can't make it in this field, and that turns people away. That makes it difficult for people to break into this field if they don't already have those connections. I don't know that I could think of a bunch of people to call up in my network to just sell them a bunch of products in some cases. So it's a continuing difficulty. We've seen some changes over the years, even at some of the largest firms. But you have financial advisors, planners out in the field who are really taking it upon themselves. For this story, I spoke with Hannah Moore. She's in the DFW Metroplex by you. She's got this amazing externship program. It's an 8-week program over the summer, virtual. It's $350. It's an incredible learning experience that gets people up to speed, no matter where they come from, in terms of their familiarity with all the concepts. You can really see what a planning career is like. I spoke with Luis Rosa of the BLX internship. They're doing some amazing work with summer internships from Black and Latino students over the summer. They have almost too many students. Not just almost, they have too many students to be able to
That's a good problem to have,
these
right?
internships, unfortunately. So they need more RIAs to step up and have an intern over the summer. And that's another difficulty. It is, some firms have their own sort of dynamics, and they think of internships as one thing or another, or somebody's family friend or somebody's niece or nephew, and it's maybe difficult for them to think about partnering with an outside group. Fortunately, there has been a partnership where eMoney stepped up to fund scholarships for the students who don't get internships this summer to be able to do the externship so they can have that experience. But it's just so important to think about for the future of the profession to be a place where there's more of an apprenticeship and people can come in and learn the field before they're under so much pressure to produce all of this revenue in their first year.
Well, I'm glad you said that because Helen Stevens of Aspen Wealth Management does a phenomenal job. She has people come in as associates where they're not producing anything. Their job is to, in their first 1, 2, 3 some odd years, their job is to do just this one thing, and then let the other people do the other stuff, and they'll kind of grow into that role of monitoring other relationships and things like that. So you're absolutely right, man. It's very difficult. And I found it difficult myself. It's very difficult to come in here and say, okay, go eat what you kill, right? Go get it. And I'm going to tell a quick story. and it's going to be a bit controversial. And I'm going to name some names on this one. So just,
Okay.
I know you're going to be like, oh, it's crazy.
Oh.
So, and the reason why I'm saying this is because I recently read a book. Well, the book was about how the financial system has destroyed Black America, right? So now reading this book, it talked about Edward Jones specifically. Edward Jones was notorious for doing this. They would have a white a financial advisor and a Black financial advisor. The white financial advisor would often get the larger book of business and the better community to go and prospect in, while the Black financial advisor often got the lower amount of assets and had to go prospect in an area that was known for failure. So it's those types of things that we have to address. And the reason why I'm saying that, and I know I shouldn't say this, but I'm going to say it because it's my show, it's still happening. And you know how I know it's still happening? Because I've spoken to somebody about it. I mean, that was recently. And and of course, I'm not going to name any names on that one. But what I'm going to say is it's powerful. It's still happening. And Edward Jones paid an anti-discrimination lawsuit because of it. And it's still occurring in their business model today. So the reason that you said previously, like it's such a high degree of failure, is because of those things, the hurdles that are put in front of some of these advisors. But if we start removing these hurdles, and like you said before, a lot of the RIAs out here are very, very small, so it may be difficult for a lot of us to come out and bring on these interns and try to help, accommodate them in regards to income and things like that, just to basically so they can survive. What's going to happen, and I'm telling you this now, the large aggregators are going to have a vast swath of talent to choose from because they'll have the money to pay them recruits out of our visions to basically go out and say, okay, we want you now. Oh, well, they're paying me $120. I can't afford $120 right now, so that's the issue we're dealing with as smaller RIAs, is having the large RIA aggregators having the cash to go and buy talent and basically continue to grow their business.
Well, and they have so much private equity capital these days. More and more, it seems like we see a new private equity investor coming into wealth management in some form or another. And they are starting to develop some of their own training programs, and they're getting pretty sophisticated in that regard. But we shouldn't lose sight of these discrimination cases because it's not just they are recent, it's like they are present, and almost every large financial firm has paid these huge settlements to, they say that they didn't engage in any wrongdoing, but you paid a very large settlement, and Edward Jones is one of them. I mean, that was 2021. They paid a $34 million settlement. And the allegations were just what you said about steering to certain neighborhoods and cutting off Black registered representatives from career advancement. I happened to speak with one of the plaintiffs in that case who felt very strongly about how what she called her fight for dignity, being able to help the next generation break into this field. And Edward Jones has made changes. Like I said, they're not the only one. We've seen cases involving Wells Fargo, Merrill Lynch,
JP Morgan,
yeah, almost any. And that doesn't mean that there aren't well-meaning people at those firms who are trying to make change. That doesn't mean that everyone who's worked there engaged in those practices. But it's something that I don't think the industry has truly confronted. And it is something where if you come in from a certain background in this field, there are some people who have more challenges that they have to deal with. If you look like me, you have fewer challenges. People, for historical reasons, we think of a money manager looking like me, a white guy, probably with glasses, but yeah, and so there are more burdens that some advisors have to face in their career, and a lot of times people sort of act like that doesn't exist, and it's just a a measure of tenacity and working hard. But I've spoken to all too many advisors who have worked hard, and they almost got driven out of this field because of all of the challenges that they had to face every day with different treatment, or the inevitable, oh my gosh, you're Black. I didn't know that over the phone. And now I'm meeting you for the first time. And, that's something that I think we need to stop and put ourselves in other people's shoes, or just listen and think about ways of doing differently. I think you do see a few signs of progress with new programs, but then inevitably resources get shifted around. The markets could be down, and there's not enough revenue, and all of a sudden they want to. There's a political pushback against the idea of diversity and equality and inclusion. So it becomes a difficult thing to continue a lot of these programs. And a lot of times there's like one person at this giant company who supposedly has all of this on their shoulders. And it's like, oh, it was your job to solve this problem for us. But it's like an everyone problem that the entire industry needs to solve. So it's something that I try to talk about as much as I can in my reporting. And I think it's something that the industry is still really trying to reckon with, or ignoring a lot, unfortunately.
Well, it's ignoring it because, like I said, I recently went to an event, and it was more of the same. It was filled. The room was filled with a bunch of white people. Nothing wrong with that. I mean, okay. But one thing that's changing is the gender makeup, the demographics around gender, because now you see more women owning their businesses, which is fine. This is great. I'm happy for that. But there's only two brothers in there. It's me and this other guy. I'm like, oh. I usually try not to get out as much, and I go out maybe. I've been to 2 events this year. I'm going to have 2 or 3 more at the end of the year, because it's always the same. And you know why? So watching CNBC and Bloomberg yesterday, they have the Milken conference, right? It's the same stuff over and over and over again. And I'm just like, this is not going to change. This is the same thing. And again, I'm okay with it. I just want it to be understood that it's like, this is what it is. And if either you're going to just say, this is the way it is, and so be it, or you're literally going to try to change it. And if you're going to try to change it, I know JP Morgan's done a bunch, like $30 billion into the communities of color and things like that, which is great. But we got to make some serious strides in that world. But again, that's an aside. The last thing I want to talk about is just mentorship before we go. Mentorship is powerful. I think mentorship is probably the most important factor in regards to getting these young advisors up and running. Talk to me a little bit about mentorship, and what are you guys seeing there in your discovery while you guys are writing these articles?
Well, that's the number one factor. That's what Luis said to me. Luis Rosa of the BLX internship, is having that mentor who's guiding you, who's supporting you, who's helping you advance, who's on your side, who's on your team. He agrees with you that's the number one factor that can help this next generation really enter this field. And there have been efforts around that. I think the internship programs are great. We see individual folks within the industry really taking it upon themselves. And we talked about the RIA aggregators, and so they are a huge factor. One of them that I spoke to for this story was Wealth Enhancement Group. There's a planner named Chris Carroll there. He's an adjunct financial planning professor at Winthrop University in North Carolina. And he's someone who wanted to be a professor at one point, but then moved into this field instead. And he's sort of found internship and career development of young people as a nice outlet for that in his career. And so he started this Wealth Enhancement Group University through their firm. And that is some way to bring younger people together, younger people in the firm together to to meet and talk about all of the issues that they're facing as in trying to break into this field. And as he put it, to work on kind of the softer skills. A lot of younger people or career changers might come into the field with the skills and planning in terms of they know the different types of investments, they know the planning methods, they know the ins and outs of, say, a backdoor Roth conversion. But it's the relationship side and the emotional intelligence side that maybe they might need some more experience there. And so meeting together, talking with the senior advisors at a firm in a supportive manner, that's the type of thing that can help younger people advance in this field, just like in any field. So mentorship is a huge factor, and so I would urge anyone who's looking for a mentor to reach out. They're much more accommodating and approachable than you might think. If you reach out to a Hannah Moore, reach out to a Luis Rosa, reach out to Dominique Henderson, another great advisor from the DFW area. There are people out there who are creating these industry on-ramps, and they're just waiting for talented young people and career changers who want to put in that effort to break into this field, which is a meaningful and valuable field for helping people.
Absolutely. Tobias Salinger, Arizent Financial Planning. Man, I appreciate you for joining us today on the call. Once again, tell the people what we're going to be doing at the end of the month.
Okay, May 29th, we have a live discussion featuring Kevin Thompson of the 9i Capital Group and Shannon Spotswood of RFG Advisory. I will be moderating, and we'll have all of the names rolling off the tongue, of course, but we're going to have a great discussion on all the factors involved with calling financial advisors independent. There's a lot there, and we hope that you can join us. If not, the recording will be posted on our website as well.
Thank you for joining us, my friend. I appreciate you.
Okay, thank you so much.
We just had Tobias Salinger of Financial Planning at Arizent. He was talking the good stuff, talking about how we can bridge the gap in regards to the talent in the industry. Why the 70% of advisors fail in the first 3 years? Why is it that there's 100,000 advisors that are going to be succeeding out of this business in the next couple of years, next 3 to 5 years, and how are they going to do it successfully? There's a lot of stuff that we talked about today. I think it was a valuable conversation. Don't forget, May 29th, the link is below. Register for that. As I always say, subscribe to the channel. As I always say, go and get my book, Get My B2CFP, live on Apple and Amazon. You have any questions, comments, or concerns, you can email us at info@9icapitalgroup.com. Send us your questions, or you go to the website at www.9icapitalgroup.com. Schedule an appointment. As you know, we're here to do what? Educate, empower, and engage. Thank you guys for joining tonight in these podcasts. I love every one of you. Thank you, 9i Cappers. Stay humble, stay safe, and we will see you again soon.